Fixing every violation is your only option.
A home before this town existed.
Then it's time your family's history came to an end.
She had no idea my father buried the truth instead.
Do you understand what your grandfather left you?
No.
Every home in Millbrook Estates is drinking water that legally belongs. This community belongs to the HOA.
30 seconds later, the FBI.
I found Dad's journal in the workbench drawer, still smelling like pipe tobacco. He passed 6 weeks ago. Heart attack in the garden he had tended for 40 years. I had been going through his tools on a Saturday morning. The specific grief of handling objects a man used with his hands, when the leather cover caught my eye between a box of nails and a bent measuring tape. The last entry was 3 days before he died. Take care of the land, son. It will take care of you. I didn't understand what he meant until I found the shoebox. My name is Daniel Mercer, 51 years old, retired Army Ranger. I moved back to my childhood home in Millbrook Estates 2 months before Dad passed. Close enough to help, not close enough to arrive in time. The house has been in our family since 1948, when my grandfather bought 40 acres of Virginia farmland for $3,000 cash. Dad was born in that house. I was born in that house. Sandra Whitfield had been HOA president at Millbrook Estates for 8 years. Silver Cadillac, real estate law background, the kind of organizational efficiency that looks like community service until you understand what it's actually organizing. She had increased dues 4 times in 8 years, each increase explained by rising maintenance costs nobody could quite locate on any statement. She arrived 3 weeks after Dad's funeral with a code enforcement officer and $12,000 in accumulated violations. Roof, foundation, drainage, every item requiring certified contractor assessment at my expense within 30 days. I was still sleeping in my childhood bedroom surrounded by 40 years of his belongings. The shoebox was under the workbench behind a rusted coffee can full of screws. Dad kept receipts the way Depression-era men kept everything. Every property tax payment since 1948. Every utility bill. Every water usage statement going back decades. Labeled, dated, rubber banded by year. While I was sorting them, I found something filed between 1987 and 1988 that I almost missed. A water rights certificate, Virginia Department of Environmental Quality, issued 1948 to Harold James Mercer, granting perpetual subsurface water rights to the underground aquifer system beneath the original 40-acre parcel. My grandfather had purchased the land rights and the water rights separately in 1948. The surface parcels had been subdivided and sold over the decades as Millbrook Estates developed around us. But nobody had ever transferred the water rights. They had stayed with the original deed, now belonging to me. I hired a water rights attorney named Patricia Walsh, who had the particular competence of someone who had won cases nobody thought were winnable. She read the certificate and pulled up current aquifer mapping data on her laptop and got very quiet. "Daniel," she said, "this aquifer feeds every well in Millbrook Estates. 247 homes. Your grandfather owned the water they have been drinking for 76 years. Then she found the bottling contract. Sandra's HOA had signed an 8-year agreement with Blue Ridge Natural Water, LLC, allowing commercial extraction from the aquifer for $12,000 monthly, $144,000 annually, $1.1 million over 8 years, flowing into an LLC whose registered agent was Sandra's husband. She had been selling water she didn't own to a bottling company for 8 years, while charging residents increasing dues for water infrastructure maintenance. Patricia filed the ownership claim on a Thursday. By Friday, the bottling company had received a federal cease extraction order. By Monday, Sandra's husband had hired a criminal defense attorney. I said nothing publicly for 2 weeks. Patricia advised patience. Let the federal investigation reach its own conclusions before the community meeting. Sandra called the meeting herself, confident enough to think she could still manage the narrative. She walked in with her prepared presentation and her composure, and her 8 years of assuming nobody would ever look closely enough. Then Patricia stood up and placed the 1948 water rights certificate on the table beside the bottling contract, beside the bank statements showing $1.1 million transferred to Sandra's husband's accounts. The room erupted. Sandra grabbed the documents and screamed about forgeries and conspiracy. Her husband bolted for the back exit. Federal Agent Torres had anticipated exactly that. He was waiting in the hallway. The handcuffs clicked shut on both of them within 30 seconds of each other. Sandra received 6 years federal prison for wire fraud, theft of natural resources, and breach of fiduciary duty. Her husband received 8 years for money laundering and conspiracy. Full restitution of $1.1 million. Every fabricated violation voided. Every dollar of unauthorized water revenue returned to Millbrook Estates. Residents as a credit against future dues. The bottling company paid a $400,000 EPA settlement for unauthorized aquifer extraction and funded a 10-year water quality monitoring program. I sat on the back porch the evening after sentencing with Dad's journal open on my knee, reading his entries about the garden and the weather and the small daily observations of a man who paid attention to what he owned. The land had taken care of itself exactly the way he said it would. I just had to read the receipts. The fishing hat is still on the hook by the back door. I am not ready to move it yet, but the land is still here, and so am I.